which would be a great jumping off point if that was an elementary school, which I believe should be offered at the elementary school. More and more of these classes vanish. First, I remember art in the middle school, vanish. The band here, vanish. Drama, vanish. Now, we have the band going. And, of course, general music going. As a fine arts student, this isn't a very effective way to show future generations what career choices they have. Originally, the school offered 3 mediums of art. Now it's 2, drama and music. However, I think the lessons classes seem like something Hudson could actually do very well in his band class, as he does teach some kids how to play an instrument from time to time if they are brand new to the idea. If not, their colleagues and fellow students could teach him and show him a little bit of secrets on how to play the instrument. Music history is also something Hudson can taught very frequently. Band wasn't always purely a band class. Hudson sprinkled in history lessons here and there quite frequently. There are days I remember playing 2 songs max because Hudson talked the whole time about the composer or the artist of a certain song. The only class left would be choir, which I don't think there's any way around that one, as Hudson never really taught about vocal music technically. My point is that band could very well be multiple classes rolled into one. There are many kids who join band as a way to get fine arts checked off their prerequisite classes, as is most kids who join general music or drama. Now, I understand very well that this decision was rather difficult for all of you, as my late uncle was a part of the board and one of my kin is currently a part of it now. Because of this, I have nothing but respect for your positions. However, I do have a few questions and concerns about this decision. 1, why of the music teachers was Hudson and the one to get the boot? Hudson has been a teacher in the system for far longer than Sam Duggins, and students, band or not, and his colleagues praise Hudson as one of the best teachers in the systems. Duggins, don't get me wrong, was a great teacher, but I don't see why out of the 2, Hudson was chosen. 2, why was the band cut when Hudson was cut? The band is independently funded by the band boosters. So when Hudson got the boot, why did the band get thrown under the bus as well? Worst case scenario, Duggins could have taken the mantle of the band director. He is clearly educated in music, so I don't see why such a program couldn't be handled by him as well, since the school system wants to give him all the music classes. 3, you cut the band program because of leaving kids, children, and other teaching positions here because of children leaving other schools. I will not ask why they left, but in a general, there should be a reason why this happened. One thing I will say is this: there will be many parents and kids who will want a band program and could leave for another neighboring school system. Statistically, most top 10 kids in the high school have at least one band kid. School scores could drop if kids like these want to go elsewhere for the band program. Arts are very vital to everyone. It occupies most of our lives, and I suggest anyone to try it once in school. It helped me discover my true passion and even helped me in life. The best part of having band was you could try it for free. No service fee, no membership cost. Just asked to be put in band class the next semester and pick up an instrument. Unfortunately, it looks like that won't be the case anymore. Thank you for your time.
Could I ask?
Yes.
How many on average were in the band during your 4 years?
It varied. I'll be
On
honest.
average, give me a year.
Yeah. Well, I want to say in the first it was more than 30. By the 3rd year, could have been roughly 30 as well. I think my senior year was like 20 to 30, around that area.
Mid-20s to 30.
Yes.
It was 35, 30 to 24. I found those numbers. Does that sound right?
That sounds right.
That includes flag, cord, everything.
It does.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Cameron's letter is also in your board packet, along with Mr. Lively's and Mr. Brown's. You have a copy of their letter as well.
Yes,
You
sir.
say about bringing the band back, that it would bring back enthusiasm for the band,
Mhm.
increase numbers.
Oh, definitely, I would say so. I understand that band is not the most popular organization in the school system, but from the comments, ever since this was announced, many people, even people you wouldn't expect to like the band, have shown true support and everything.
Somebody, crazy numbers, and obviously it makes good sense to keep the band in.
I believe so, yes. Mm.
You said you started, band what grade?
Sixth grade,
Sixth grade?
Yes.
In middle school?
yes. That was in 2007 to 2008 year.
If that wasn't there
Mhm.
in middle school, would you still play band in high school?
That's a good question. My brother, Adrian Hankins, he was also a member of the band. And part of the reason why I did join in sixth grade, and kind of why I stayed anyway, was because I always heard about all the great things that was in band, so I thought, hopefully it'll get better. So, yeah, it's kind of yes or no, maybe.
It's not hard to say.
Yeah, kind of hard to say, I would say.
But it definitely had an influence, or?
Oh, definitely. Joining that, also maybe want to join any other arts class, really. Choir by Sam Duggins, I joined that and I really enjoyed it. Also boosted my confidence up a lot in that class, but it was because of band and all that, I believe. Any more questions?
Mr. Hankins, we really appreciate you coming and
Thank
speaking
you.
with us
Thank
today. You did a very good job. You
Thank
did
you
a
very
great
much.
job. Now we ask Mr. Larry Lively. Come to the floor, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before the board. I'm here to ask if you would please reconsider the decision to eliminate the band director's position. Now, speaking as a parent of two kids who were recently in the band in middle school and high school, I can testify to the impact that the band program has had on them and their friends. Now, speaking as parents, we know that all our kids are different. There are some kids that the best part of the school day is going to be a vocational course, or the best part of the school day is going to be an academic course. For some, the best part of the school day is going to be school, sports and teams. And for some kids, what they will look forward to most in that day is the band program. For some, it is what holds them and keeps them excited about school. So for that reason, I think music matters. Now, I also look at this from a different perspective. For 25 years, I was responsible for drafting a budget and submitting it to an outside funding agency. So I really do empathize with your position. I've been there, I've done that. It's not fun and it's not easy. And I realize that when you are writing a budget document, what that's going to force you to do is prioritize. What's your mission? What's most important to you? Well, now, if our mission as the board is to make sure that the kids get the best education that we can provide, then you've got to figure out look at every equipment, building, activity, program, and ask yourself honestly, how much is that worth to you? Like, what's the value you're going to place on all these items on your budget, and then kind of rank order those. And in good times, you get to add on and everybody feels good. And in bad times, you have to figure out what is least essential, and that's what's gotta go. Now, my belief, and I think a lot of people in the community think, that the band cannot be the least essential program that you could cut. So what I'm asking you to look at it and see what alternatives you have. Now, I have confidence if you'll look at it, you may be able to solve the problem you've got with the resources you've got. I have one more thing to say, and I may get run out of town for saying this. I hope not. I hope no one slashes my tires. But as a group, if you do that and prioritize and identify, if cutting the band is absolutely the least harmful thing you can do to the kids, if you can't come up with a way to solve that problem other than cutting the band, what that would tell me is you probably don't have the resources that you need to do the mission you need, which is look for the kids. Now, I'm not suggesting you shirk your responsibility, but if that's the only cut that you have available, then you don't have the resources, and you probably wanna go back to the people and say, listen, our kids are important. You've gotta give us what we need to do the job that we're hired to do. And with that, I'll get off my sermon, and, thank you very much for the time to listen to me.
Thank you, Mr. Lockley. Mr. Matt Brown.
Hello, I appreciate you allowing me to speak tonight. I have just a few things I want to say. I promise that I will be brief. I have written a letter to the board expressing my life story, basically, explaining exactly how I came to be here. Those of you who don't know me, I am a park ranger over at Coffee Falls State Park, and I was a man myself from the time that I was in 5th grade. My wife and I are residents of Bledsoe County. We have 2 schools in the school system now, and that we were impressed with Bledsoe County schools when we came here, and we chose to settle on the Bledsoe side instead of the Van Buren side because we were impressed with what we saw. I would like to share with you something related to music education. This is by Mr. Tim Lautzenheiser. This is from a series that he writes called Teaching Music Through Performance in Band. It says, we are on the cutting edge of breakthrough mind research concerning how the brain works. With the improvement of technology, we can now watch the mind creating an endless and infinite network of dendrites, maps of learning, as the neurons continuously fire, establishing an ever-growing structure supporting the learning process. It is believed music learning activates various areas of the brain and synchronizes the mind for learning at a fast pace while stretching the memory to a higher level of retention. Music enhances cognitive learning, facilitates growth in many areas of human development, i.e. motivation, social skills, time management, situational awareness, aesthetic appreciation, etc. As we learn more about the integration of emotional intelligence and cognitive learning patterns, it is ever apparent that the study of music has a direct relationship to the measured success of the individual student via reasoning, creative thinking, decision-making, and problem-solving. Now, with me being a parent of 2 children that are in this county school system, one of them is in the band, the only surviving member of the 8th grade band after it was removed from the middle school. It would be devastating to my family for that to be removed. Reagan, my daughter, is playing flute and piccolo. She's looking forward to going to high school. She's been counting the weeks down where she can go to high school, and excited about becoming the section leader as a freshman playing the piccolo. Now, Reagan had difficulty with math in 4th and 5th and 6th grade. She started playing flute, piccolo, and after playing with the other folks that are in the band, started noticing at home that she is suddenly able to reason herself through some of her math problems. She is doing algebraic equations quite well. She's been in honors classes, and she is becoming more and more able to score well on her tests. The fact of the matter is that music education, especially the type of education you get from a band type environment, is going to promote leadership, is going to promote the ability to retain information that you learn, because you're having to use both sides of your mind at the same time. You have to use the logical, you have to use the artistic, and you have to do it at the same time. And very few other things are going to cause that to happen. Now, I want my children, when they go through the school system, to leave here after 12th grade being well prepared to go into the workforce. I want them to be able to do well if they choose to go to college. Band is considered a sport, and my daughter has to play piccolo after school, and that's all she gets, and it's a very weak program. If she chooses to go into music, she's not going to be accepted into a music program because she's not going to have the skills and the experiences that she needs when she gets to college to be accepted. She just won't. It won't happen. Private lessons won't cut it. It's going to take the full program in order to prepare her the way she needs to be prepared. Now, I have a son as well, and he is getting ready to go into 5th grade. He's currently participating in summer school. Loves to go and do the daily activities at the summer camps. He's over at Wheeler right now, and he loves the arts that he gets to be involved in there. But we have to convince him to go to these summer school programs every year because there's a field day at the end and he hates sports. He doesn't wanna be involved. It embarrasses him. He doesn't like it. We can't get him to do the summer school because of that, or we have difficulty getting him to do the summer school because there's sports involved. Sports is not for everyone. Band is not a sport. He's looking forward to the opportunity to be able to get into middle school, where he was, to where he could start, being in the band program. Football, basketball, that sort of thing definitely has its place, but it is not a substitute and it is not for everybody. You mentioned earlier that, it's a farming process, and you mentioned the Little Blues. And we teach these children as they go through this community, as they grow up, we teach them that it is really cool to play sports, but there's nothing teaching them how cool it is to be in the band. But the most courageous people on the field are that few that get out there and make a lot of racket together and march that field. It's hard. I've been there. I've done it. It's a lot of work. It will cause these children to be leaders as they grow older, and it will cause them to score better on their tests. So with that said, I would like you to consider the advantage to the social skills, the advantage to the leadership skills, the advantage when they're trying to go to college, the other things that they're going to achieve from this band program. I'd like to see it put back in both middle school and high school. I'd like to see it in elementary schools if it were possible. We want to consider these things, and we want to prepare our children to be able to go into their after high school realm well prepared and equal with the other peers that they're gonna have across the state. Just because we're from a smaller county with a lesser budget does not mean that these children should not have the same resources when they get out of high school that the other children across the state have. Big things come in small packages sometimes. We can do that. Listening to the numbers that were stated earlier, my math is correct. We're talking about 0.84% of the budget here. Thank you. Please reconsider.
Thank you, Mr. Bledsoe.
Correct. Yeah. There wasn't enough, we should bring it back and sign it. Correct. No one has signed up. Don't wait anybody out. Thank you. And Mr. Brown's letter also in the packet. If you haven't read that, I would encourage you to do so.
And I think most of you, or a lot of you, attended the work session where we were discussing this very issue, and it seems like this would be an appropriate time to resume that discussion. So,
Well, before we start, after hearing our speeches, I'm 100% confident that I want to propose that the band be reinstated. I've had more time. I've heard from my community. We've got more students. If we lose more students, we have less money to work with. We're cutting on the road. As Mr. Snow had mentioned in our work session, let's make this work for at least the next year and go from there. We've got to make it work. Mr. Cameron Hankins, I think the plan is speaking with several teachers the way to make it work. They think that we can do one at the high school, one at the middle school, one at each elementary school. Mr. Cameron Hankins mentioned focus on that fourth and fifth grade. I don't know if that's exactly correct or not, but I think we have got to make it work, and we're not hearing from our community.
Mr. Pendergrass, before we move forward, I need to know exactly what you mean when you say, because of the discussions that we had the hour before this, I need to know exactly what you mean by reinstating the band program. What do you mean? Cause the reason I ask that is because we've been talking about a 1.5 position, which encompass the position at the middle school for general music, and then the 0.5 position, which was the actual band program at the high school.
In other words, reinstated to the way we were. I guess I know that's gonna bring back up more discussion with budget, but at this point, our community's spoken loud and clear. People here are spoken loud and clear on what they want, and that's our job as the board, is to bring forward what our people want.
Well, let me clarify again. So your motion is actually to reinstate the 1.5 position
Would it be more productive if the motion would be not general music, but an option, general music or band at middle school? I don't know, Mr. Cagle has a reason for it being the way it is.
Right.
But the emphasis seems to be how to grow the band. And if they don't have opportunity to hands-on with the instrument, it's not gonna grow a lot of them, I think.
That's exactly right.
I think that's also been the experience. They've had general music for 2 years and it hasn't, the numbers at high school have not improved.
Good. So band then, middle
Your
school.
motion,
So high school and middle school level both.
You want to add 2.5 positions. You're gonna add a full band program at the middle school and a full band program at the high school.
the band, the way I understand it, at the middle school, you've got 3 units, so you have 3 periods. Or you have, just like it is, 3 periods at middle school that would be band rather than general music.
Right.
So state your motion.
Is this don't let me talk out of line, cause we're under a motion right now, is that
I
right? Is that how we
think
do
we're
it?
trying to figure out what his motion is,
Okay.
the motion he's making.
Are we, and then after this, we'll have to have a chance to discuss.
Yes.
You can amend the motion that's on the table too, so.
Right.
Yeah,
We're trying to find out
basically, that's
what
what
his
he's saying,
motion
I
is.
think, yeah.
Exactly word.
So what, restate your motion, please.
Right, so I'm proposing, making a motion, that we put the band back in for the high school level and the middle school level. However, we have to make it work on that as far as schedule and period wise, whether it be high school, middle school, and add in elementary.
I don't think we've done that far.
Are you saying that you're creating a new position plus bringing the other one back?
That's what I
Well,
think
he,
he's saying.
he.
Because that's what you're saying, and that's where I'm getting lost.
We're just changing the term, I think, from music
No,
to
you'll be,
band.
you'll be creating a position, because you don't, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. General music, we terminated that position with our last budget, so, we do have a band position, so we'd be bringing the band position back, but the middle school band program does not exist, so you would be creating
Could he
that.
handle both responsibilities?
So you're asking for back 1.5 positions, not 2.5. You're not wanting to create a new one, you're just wanting to
Correct.
put back existing, what we cut, you're wanting to add back,
Yes,
and nothing
one.
else. I think that's what was confusing to us, cause it
Okay.
sounded like you wanted to add a full program at the middle school and a full program at the high school. You're just saying add back what we had,
Yes, ma'am.
okay,
Which would be general music plus the band program.
the 1.5.
Do we not, that's a budget item though, do we not have to address this as part of the budget item? So we need to also, as part of this motion, do we not discuss how we're going to adjust our budget to cover this, whether we're gonna cut something else or we're gonna aid it out of the fund balance or however?
I think we would let Mr. Pendergrass make the motion, someone would have to second it, and then we would discuss. I mean, I think that would be the proper way to do that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we reinstate as was, high school and middle school.
The 1.5 positions that were
1.5
cut, the general music at the middle school and the band program at the high school.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second that.
You read back the motion, Robert, before we clear.
Pendergrass made a motion to reinstate the general music program at the middle school and to reinstate the band program at the high school. That which equates to 1.5 positions.
Is that correct, Mr. Pendergrass?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Snow's second that, correct?
Yes.
Any discussion?
I thought.
No, go ahead.
And I think it's important for, especially everybody here to understand, how this came about, and this is from my understanding, and in the discussion that we just had in talking to several people. See, 2 years ago, if I'm correct, the middle school band was cut. And more or less, for lack of a better term, the throat was cut to the high school band. And see, what's happened, in my understanding, is now the high school band is the least amount of students that are affected within a cut that is mandatory. And the reason that I voted personally, I am a musician, I love music. Frank Hudson was my band teacher. But the reason that it was that we voted as it was, to look at it in that information that we had, that was the least amount of students that we cut. For cutting band personally, no, that's tragic. But you have to understand, in reinstating band, somebody else is gonna be cut. In turn, it's gonna affect a greater amount of students in some way, the best way that I can understand. It's going, and so our band, as we look at it now, from my understanding, it is maybe because of a decision 2 years ago, it's the least amount right now. If we decide to put band back in, my opinion, we gotta make it valuable. We gotta make it work. We gotta see how it's, and discuss it within the best means. And you're asking, and that thought, you have to say, what's gonna be the greater amount of cost? You know, it's gonna cost something. There's gonna be another teacher have to be cut. There's gonna be another class that's gonna have to be heard. We hear your voice. I have. I mean, I've heard what you say, what you said, your concern. But you have to understand when, especially people who voted me in, I bring a certain amount of ethics to this. As much as I love music, I gotta do what's right. I know this don't make sense to a lot of people, but I had a guitar one time that to somebody that's a car fanatic, it'd be like a Chevelle or something like that. And man, I love this guitar. I used it every day and performed with it every week. Well, there's a time that come that they got lean at the house, and I needed to make a bill payment. And I was looking at my kids and thinking, man, I sure don't want them to starve this month. And you know what, and I'm a born again Christian, so I won't say the Lord done it, but somebody called me and said, hey, did you sell that old guitar of yours? You know what I done? My dream guitar, sold it. You know how bad I felt about it? A little. My children got deep that month. So this is the kind of ethics that we come to when we think about this decision. And this is the reason that we vote how we vote. And so I wanted to say all that just to make it clear that if we vote this back in, we need to. It's something we need to think about. It needs to improve. It needs to be worth it, if you will. Kind of like a better term. What's that? Saving Private Ryan. You ever watched it? Where the man said, "You earned this." It's kind of that sort of thing. So that's what I have to say about this emotion.
This is not easy. It wasn't easy last month when we talked about it. It's not easy this month when we talk about it. I do worry about paying for it. With this enrollment, just a trend of enrollment continuing to go down, I don't know it could be bigger cuts next year. Again, I think I told, if you're in the working session, the bigger picture item is how do we keep enrollment from continuing to go down? That is a 30,000 foot picture of this. This, what's caused a lot of this is our enrollment continues to go down, and we need to focus on that going forward, on how to maintain that enrollment. And as Ms. Ritchie explained, and I do believe this, that if enrollment goes down and we maintain this, we're gonna have, it can grow on you in a hurry. It can grow on you really quick, and then next year the deficit can be 2 or 3 times this, and we'll have bigger cuts and tougher cuts to make. We're not careful. I don't wanna cut the band, none of us do. None of us do. It's very, very important. Mr. Lively had a really good point. You know, he understands a budget, and it's tough, it really is. But, you know, if you budget incorrectly, it can affect you next year and the years going forward as well.
Big cost.
Mr. Boone was exactly correct. We have talked a whole lot about this. There's been many discussions on what to do with this budget. And we felt, as Mr. Brady said, that this was the best decision that we could make based on the numbers that we have. I appreciate the emails that we've had. We've had many, many emails. And I appreciate those. I've not answered every one, but I did read them, and I appreciate that. And Mr. Hankins, I appreciate you, Mr. Lively, and Mr. Brown. We have talked about other options, or tried to discuss and bring to the forefront. Mr. Brown mentioned the after-school program would not be near as effective as an in-school program, being a class at the school. And Mr. Fingrass mentioned having it at the elementary school as well. We do have some classes or some programs, not classes, beginning after school at the elementary school that Ms. Ollendorf is participating in. Some of those are instruments that she plays. My understanding, Mr. Ellis, that she brings her own. Oh, sorry.
Is that what you normally do?
This crowd would not be on my seat. Wait a minute.
When he usually sits over there with that.
Yeah. But that was my understanding, that the instruments that she would bring would be her own.
Yeah, she does the guitars. We had a nice donation this year, I think 35, does that sound right? 35 guitars.
Wow.
And she's working at that. I think she's also doing a chorus.
She is.
Like I say, Ms. Young runs the after-school program. She would be a better person for the information, but I do know she is working with some students at Wheeler and Pike Elementary.
That is correct.
And I think both of those programs are in the after-school program, correct? Having a child over in the elementary school, I can help you out, Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. But that is important, and I know that starting as one of the speakers mentioned, Little Blue, maybe Mr. Brown, mentioned starting with Little Blue as a football program, baseball. I think that would be important. If we could encourage that somehow, get that going from elementary school on through. The thing is, in the high school, we have several offerings still. We don't have a band class as the way it stands now. We don't have a band class, but there are offerings. And Ms. Pickett brought us a list of those.
Virginia
I think it's in our packet, I believe it's the orange tab, no.
They're tapped. They're down.
The first green tab is where it is.
Somebody else's may not be.
Oh, you,
We did
Just in
color
high school, we have
coordination.
Concord Choir 2 sections, general music 2 sections,
It's
music
tab
issue,
4.
guitar 1, 2 sections, keyboarding, and then also drama and musical theater, which does not include a band class. And I had asked the question, someone says, do it one more year, see what happens to enrollment. What could we do to improve enrollment this year that we have not done in the past? What this year coming up would be an incentive for anything to make the class grow?
I think Mr. Frady had addressed that in our work session as far as his knowledge of how music works. And I don't know that I'm really capable or knowledgeable enough to talk, to speak on that. But I thought Mr. Frady did an excellent job in the work session speaking on that.
Well, it's, and my thought, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
But in my thought, if we simply just bring back the band class and say this is how it was, it's still the same problem. And more or less, you still have few students, you still have, you're still in the same realm. I think if we're gonna do this and do it right, and make it feasible for us to do it, it's got to be farmed. It's got to, you know, we've, and respectively, some have, in all due respect, some have said, let's do a band one more year and see it, and see if it gets better. Well, that's just like a basketball, or a football team at the school that didn't have one, and say, oh, okay, we'll fund it, but you gotta win the championship this year. It's just, those kind of things don't work. And so, this just takes a lot of thought. It's gonna take a lot of work. And, you know, Jesus gave us the illustration that said, no man builds a building without counting the cost first. And, you gotta count this cost. That's the thing.
I think we have had more people step forward, said they would be more willing to help. I know Ms. Housley, I think Mr. Lively, some of that family said they could help in aspects.
There's other schools that have other means of funding a band, and that's research.
I think the thing that I took from what Mr. Brady stated was that, we need to start before high school. It has to start, I think the people that have participated in band in middle school, I know I did. And that's basically, I used the analogy in the work session that it's a flower, the middle, and again, this is not my idea. I got it off Google, when I was Google searching, but, the middle school is STEM, the band program at the high school is the flower. We've gotta have the STEM in order to have the flower. So, and again, that was not my idea, so I'm not taking credit. But, anyway, so I will, when we're having a discussion, we need to think about that, is what we can do to improve the band program. I think a year and say, hey, let's see what happens is not a good idea, because you're not helping solve, or you're not doing anything to help improve a program. So, to go back with what we had, I don't know is the answer.
Well, that's not necessarily what I mean, this is extended year, because we do have people that have jumped on board since that time in the last month. Hey, I'm willing to help, because that's one of the deals, I think Mr. Borders talked about, we need more help. Like you said, we need that flower to bloom, and now since the last month, we've had people say, hey, I didn't realize we were in this shape, I'm willing to help make that flower bloom, I'm willing to help more. People that have been in the band, people that's been in the flag corps, they've offered that, hey, I'll help, I'll do whatever we need to do to expand this program to make it better. So that's, not just to say, hey, let's throw it out there, let's do it for a year, that's not by no means what I was saying, but, by knowing the people that come to me and others that have said they're willing to help and help make this grow, it's, also part of it.
Well, I think, what I'd like to see is somebody have a 5-year plan or something, and say, hey, this is where we're starting. And and then you got to look at, here's a budget, there's a 1.5 positions that, hey, this is what we've got. Will somebody do that? Cause that's a lot of work. Really, if you're just gonna do it right, you need a few teachers, you need a few certified band directors to do that, but we don't have that kind of budget. So, it's something you got to really, somebody's got to really have a heart and say, well, I'll do it. This is so much to this. It's not just a simple, we get back the band. Yes, I'd love it, but.
Our band, they need support.
They need support.
What funding mechanism would we use for this motion?
That's what I say, when you bring up the discussion, budget, what, we could look at fund balance, I don't know, whatever option the county commission's offered, that would just be up to the board, I suppose. So now
Mr.
we-
You gave us some
County
options.
commission offer?
They offered a certain percent they could help.
Is there a county commissioner in here tonight that wants to make an offer?
And now, I think Mr. Biden made that point. If we don't have those resources, we need to get them.
We're excited to get that.
some options that you have, you gave us some.
I sent you the email list
Right.
of the 5 things that each principal recommended. You just choose one that was off that list that another principal recommended, or you dip into fund balance, or you redo your budget and go back to county commission.
I have a three-tier going to county commission now versus in a few years, I mean, in the near future, going to
Very
county
near future.
commission to ask for funds to keep school open. That is my fear, and as we discussed the budget, we have to look forward, and I know this year was just
Well, we
not
could do
bleeding.
a combination of things, redoing the budget a little, dipping into the fund balance a little. I know that's a lot more for Ms. Ritchie, but she does a very good, job.
Is that a slower death? No, I don't know.
And if enrollment continues to go down, what do we do next year?
But by not having a band, that also could aid in our
It could.
enrollment going down, so that increases our problem, plus we lose band.
Could we build from an after-school program?
I would be afraid to take that chance.
Yeah, I would too. And,
Do
see, you gotta have, if somebody,
Right.
if somebody plays football, they have to have a heart for it, they have to want to. And it's hard to mend it, if somebody don't have heart for band, it's just going.
You're talking about
Yeah.
supplement after school, like a sport, like we discussed at the
You
work
could
session.
open that up even to the elementary if you chose. to.
That'd be a
You could
good thing.
Open it up to 5th grade even.
That'd be a good way to start young.
Younger. And do 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, high school.
So we could do a supplement then at the elementary level and then put the band like most of them.
I know nothing about music, but I'm assuming that you would want everybody together. For the band. I don't know if it's at the.
Well-
I'm not following.
Yeah, lost.
I was thinking you did a
I've heard
supplement.
I'm in a few different subjects, so.
Of course, we would have a motion.
I'm one of the main ones, if not the main one, that said, do it for a year. We've got a room full of people that have good ideas that we have not heard. If we shut the band down, how are we gonna bring it back?
Could be a one-year thing.
If we have to go item by line item in the budget and say, well, this may be a little over budgeted, and add it up. We've always been told we budget conservatively, well, let's budget less conservatively this year. Give you folks a chance to work with us
Make those improvements.
Sure can.
and see what our possibilities are. We can't right now fund elementary band, we can't fund, and we can't get supplements for people because we don't have qualified people to take that supplement. And, I seconded Vince's motion and the money's, we can find the money.
Mr. Pendergast, the folks that you talked to, do they have students currently in school, and are they now saying their students want to take band?
Yes, ma'am. I'm hearing the number 27, 28, 29, upper twenties.
Upper 20s that are gonna enroll in
Gonna enroll.
band for next year?
Yes.
How long has school been out, and how long has been enrollment period? For next year, that's all I'm asking, because if we had 18 at the end, which was recently, when would those folks be able to enroll?
When we start back in August, they would go in and make that.
And why have they not already? That's my question, because you have that period of enrollment, which is, showing your intentions.
Right.
Because I understand
You go in, you select your schedule, and you choose band.
I mean, if someone was interested in that, could they have called the school right now and made a request?
They could have, or they could go online and choose their classes and register
Even,
now.
I mean, today?
I think it just closed today, but they could have by the end of September. actually enrolled. That's just ticket full of enrollment, and that's how many folks have requested band.
Could I make a, I don't think we've done this very often, so we'll have to be careful here, but you've got a motion on the floor, you've got a second. A motion can be made to amend your motion, and it'll require a second. But with your motion, as I recall, it was to reinstore the position 1.5, just like it was before, and we haven't figured out how we're gonna pay for it yet, but that was your motion. And I can tell you, I mean, I've got family members here, I've got friends here, and they're not all happy with me right now, I understand that. I love them still the same, but, you know, I know they're upset, I know they're hurt, I know the kids are hurt. You know, it's not an easy decision. We've made these decisions every year I've been on this board. We cut home economics out, we've done a lot of other things, AMP last year. I've listened to Mr. Frady, who I give a lot of, respect to. He knows I don't know anything about music. I love music, but I can't carry tunes about it. But Mr. Frady's very good at what he does, and I'm listening to what he's saying, and he's basically, from what I'm gathering, he's saying, if you don't start down here at the lower levels, you're really not gonna have the success you need at the higher levels. I've listened to the members of the public. Mr. Brown, if you've not read his email, you should. He talked very, very graciously about how he's experienced band, how it's worked for him. Why don't we do this, maybe? Is this a suggestion? If it gets a second, it does, but don't, it don't. But amend your motion to put the supplement back into the budget for possible reassignment, because I know we do have at least one person that's qualified. Work after school with that to see if we can get the numbers to go up between now and whenever. Leave the positions cut. That way, if we come back at the first of next year and the numbers are there, if you have them to sign up, then maybe we can look at putting the full position back at that point, but at least we can maintain the band program by keeping the supplement in the budget from now. So that's my motion to amend the original motion.
So you're saying open enrollment back up and, go ahead and add the supplement back, and then when we come back to school in the fall, open enrollment back up and see how many folks we have to actually enroll, and if there's enough interest at that time, add the position back.
At least bring it back before the board to see if we can add the position back at that point, because we can always add this
At least if
position
you have
back.
interest.
But we've got to move forward with our budget. County's got to have our budget. We've got to decide. But now that's my motion. It'll take a second to
Are you
consider
talking-
this.
You talking about the
Addition to.
middle school that not being added in, just the high school?
I'm talking about just the supplements, period.
Both supplements.
But he's talking about adding supplement back for middle school and high school, and then in the fall, we open enrollment back up and see how many middle school and high school students are interested, and if there's enough interest, then add it back. Not add it back, not knowing if there's an interest, if I heard him correct.
Yes.
And how would that work with the middle school?
Mr. Cagle, how would that work with middle school?
I mean, so would it,
Supplement could
No,
We're
he's talking
talking
about
about-
the position, not a supplement.
yeah, because if you open the position back up in the fall, then I'm assuming that would mean that the middle school would end up having to have a band program, and so
Could you substitute band for general music? And then
For
just.
all students or just?
Right, just for all students.
Sure.
So what if we have like 9 or 12 that sign up? Will that overload another class?
How many kids are in, do all kids go through general music now?
Yes.
Through all three, through one,
Yes.
what year is that?
Every
6th,
student.
7th, and 8th, every student.
So,
So
yeah,
if only five show, if five would go band, with the other 25 they go somewhere.
go somewhere else, yeah.
So there would have to be a break of interest, just to be clear on that, enough interest to support the position.
Maybe the board needs to set some sort of goal. I mean, I'm not saying it's hard and fast, but maybe we need a goal to say this is what makes it feasible for us to do this. I don't know what that is, Bob. I have no idea.
I was second the same with you, and agree with Mr. Lively when he was saying that. I think that is correct about the goal of where you want to be and how you have to have so many kids there.
and I guess I'd be for it for nothing else, but to me, it kinda sounds like it's crippled
Yes.
programs. It feels like it's, lack of a better term, I'm not good at explaining things, but it sounds like you just lame the duck, you know, just kinda wobbling along. And you gotta, what I see that, personally, what I see that it needs, and there's not enough money for this, but you need to start, you gotta start low, you gotta start, if the middle school's the STEM, the elementary school's the seed. And, if we vote this back in, I realize tomorrow, even next year, that it's probably not going to just make it better, but I hope it gets better by next year, but it's not going but I think a 5-year plan to say, whoever's the band director or in charge of this could look at it and say, this is my plan, this is how music or band's gonna be present in the elementary school to some degree that it's gonna start. And in a middle school, this is where we're gonna start with the middle school band. Even I've proposed that the middle school and high school band play together, because as a musician, you always wanna play with somebody better than you are. So, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I'm not, and with all due respect, I mean, that's a thought, but, and it might save the budget, but it's almost like you're not giving it anything to get any better. Does that
You don't
make
think
sense?
under this scenario, the enrollment would increase?
I don't think there's enough stability there. I still think we need to put it back. We go with the 5-year plan. When we get it back in, it gives us stability. They created the 5-year plan. I think knowing that they have more stability, having the band back, that it's gonna be a lot easier.
And there's
to create the 5-year plan you're talking about.
And I hate to say it like this, and I realize, and listen, I give music lessons. I taught music in Kansas, for a year. And if your kids are not interested, it's hard to get anything done. I know there's a lot there, but you gotta have a little bit of security. You gotta have a little bit of, but then you gotta have a little bit of pressure too.
Right.
To say, hey, this has got to work out. But here's what give us something within reason,
Well, I think that if we get this band put back, there's gonna be a lot of people excited, but I think there'll also be a large but. This needs to improve, this needs to have a plan to get better and flower.
I mean, if we're gonna cut grade level positions, we're gonna affect a big amount of students. There's gotta be a big but there,
But I'd like to see.
Because we do have to fund it.
Yeah, we have to.
It's a recurring cost, so you've got to
Yeah.
figure out some way to fund it every year. It's not a
And
one-time.
I would love to see the band grow and people start coming to Bledsoe County High School for the music program. And that would solve a lot of problems,
But I would like to stick with my original motion, to put the band back.
You got a subsequent motion and a second on the floor right now, so we'll deal with it first, don't we?
We do.
And just so for the record, as I asked Mr. Pendergrass to be very fair, I asked him how he would pay for his plan. To pay for what I proposed, I suggest that it's only $6,000 that we pay out on the fund balance for the year being, so that would be how I would affect our budget in this regard.
But you also said depending on the enrollment increasing, so if we open it up for enrollment in fall, and we do have an increase, how are we gonna fix that?
If we open it up in the fall, then the board's gonna have to vote to reinstate the position or not at that point.
So it'll
But
just
at this
come out of the
point,
fund balance.
Still gonna have to.
At this point, your position's cut.
Right.
Your supplement's cut. What I'm asking is to bring the supplement back and put it funded back into the budget. And then we have the band technically still there, and we can see what we can do through the summer, speak with anyone who might be able to carry the band program forward that's already on staff. And also look and see if interest comes in, so that, we get 25 kids all of a sudden because of all this, that decide, hey, I'm gonna play in the band. And like we've always said, we get 25, 30 kids, this is a different conversation.
Right.
So, I know it's not a lot, I hear what Mr. Brady's saying, and I agree, it's a seed, it's a stem, it's a flower. But for now, based on what we've we've got, this to me is an option to at least go forward for the year and to give us some time to see if we wanna generate that interest.